Boxing King Media, powered by BYD and the Riyadh season. Mr. Frank Smith out here in Los Angeles, right in the middle of downtown, scary downtown. How are you, Frank?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm staying indoors, scary downtown. You just said you're too scared to stay.
I'm not going to lie. Have you walked outside? Have you been anywhere like 50 yards away from the hotel yet?
No. I don't do much walking. I just basically stay indoors in air-conditioned units like this. And just, we sit and talk for hours, don't we?
We definitely do. I was just looking at all these logos behind you. You know what? It's quite mad seeing Al Heyman's TV network, Eddie Hearn's TV network, Bob Adams' TV network, all on the same poster.
It's great, though. It's great. It's making big events happen. It feels a bit normal now, though, doesn't it? When you think about how long this has been going on for and the events we've seen now. It's all becoming the norm. And it's great. Look, big fights are being made. And not just, this has been an amazing part of it, but away from even the rear. Look at, we've just made Belanga against Canelo, obviously with PBC. And we'll continue to make fights with all different promoters. So I think boxing's in a great place. And I think, it's only going to continue to grow. And if we're making great fights that people want to see, it's good for the sport.
It definitely is. It just goes to show the impact of Riyadh season, and people just think it's just about money, but it's actually about making people work together and to make the best fights.
It's also about growing and building the sport, because for too long fights didn't happen. So the impact His Excellency and Riyadh season have had on the sport of boxing, will be seen for years to come. And the thing is about, like you say, it's not just about money, it's about the growth of the sport for the long term, because the sport will grow a lot quicker and a lot bigger if we make fights people want to see. And it's never going to be one, I don't believe it will be one centralized, one individual. There isn't even that in MMA. UFC are the market leaders, and then there's 20, 30, 40 other companies out there that do the same thing on a much smaller level. But it's great that people are coming together and making fights, because you don't see that in MMA. Really, you don't see UFC and Bellator fighters coming together. You don't see Bellator have obviously joined up with so I think it's good for the sport.
It definitely is. You and Eddie, well, not you, but Eddie's been banging on saying how this is the biggest event in American history. Is it, or is that Eddie being promoter?
I think when you look at the joined up fighters on the card, the names on the card, the fights on the card, a bit of Marshall Mathers dropped in as well. It is, but I think possibly there's obviously been huge main events, but when you look at the full card of boxing, the quality of fights from top to bottom, you got Terence Crawford, pound for pound, many people believe #1 in the sport, against Israel Madrimov, who's going to go and knock him out anyway on Saturday. Uzbek power all day long. You got Andy Ruiz against Jarrell Miller's a tremendous fight. You got Isaac Cruz is on the card as well. You got our guy Andy Cruz is on the card. Jared Anderson, Martin Bacoli's a brilliant fight. David Morrell in a great fight for the WBA 175 interim title as well. When you look at that and the depth of the card, you don't see that. So it's a huge event, and you're going to see on Saturday night at the BMO the quality and the level of delivery, just like we've seen in Riyadh. When we've seen the production levels in Riyadh, replicating that in Los Angeles, and then in Wembley, obviously on September 21st, it's just a different level. It's a whole nother world.
It definitely is, and you just touched on there your mate Marshall. Do you actually know any of his songs, seeing as he's your mate?
Yeah, Houdini, the new one.
Can you drop some? I was actually playing it on the way here. Can you drop some bars?
I'm not dropping any Houdini bars. It might be embarrassing.
What about the old classic ones?
Lose Yourself?
Go on then.
No, I'm not going to. I need the backing track to...
Get it on.
No, but then you wouldn't be approved for the video and it would be taken down. I don't want to affect your YouTube numbers and obviously copyright, etc. But otherwise, I'd be bang up for it.
Yeah. Good cop out. Before we, in fact, we'll wrap this card up first. So Madrimov, what interests me the most is, I was speaking to John O'Carroll recently. He did his training camp in Uzbekistan ahead of his fight in Russia that he lost recently. And he was talking about how the school of boxing in Uzbekistan is it's literally almost like drilled into the education system. It's literally from 6, 7, 8 years old that they basically train twice a day throughout their studies. Boxing's huge in Uzbekistan. Why we've never seen Matchroom doing events in Uzbek?
We've done 2 in Tashkent.
But there's 2, but if you look at the...
Yeah, but I think, look, those guys like Israel Madrimov, Shakram Giyasov, MJ Akhmadaliev, Jalalov as well, who's fighting in the Olympics now, signed with Top Rank, they are superstars in Uzbekistan, superstars. You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like their social media following is obviously huge, but when you go to Uzbekistan, trust me, you come out of the airport, there's people waiting for them. The shows are packed out. We did, like I say, a few shows in Tashkent. Honestly, the atmosphere in Tashkent was unreal. Packed out 12, 13,000 people. I think the Humor Arena it was called. These guys are superstars. He may not be globally recognised, but that's why a lot of people maybe write him off as well, because he hasn't got the profile, the global profile. But he's a tremendous fighter. When you look at what they come through as amateurs and you look at what they've delivered, like he can go in there and he can do a job on Terence Crawford. Not going to be easy. I'm not saying, I'm not saying he's going to go in there and walk all over him, obviously, but he can do. He's a special fighter, like a lot of the Uzbek fighters are, because it's like you say, from when they're born, boxing is a sport that they really all get behind, and that's why they're so big in Uzbek.
What's the financial side of it as a promoter when you go abroad? Like, do all them kind of numbers add up with whatever the currency is there, all that kind of stuff?
We've done a couple of shows there. We work with the government in Uzbekistan. Sometimes it's about the profile of the sport, building fighters, delivering them in their home country as well. It's not always about just the financial side of it. We'd love to do more shows there, but it does have to stack up. We did one with Akhmadaliev, and then we also did the first Madrimov-Soro fight there as well, which unfortunately went 30 seconds too long, and we had to do a rematch of it because they couldn't hear the bell in there. But yeah, I'm sure we'll do more shows in Uzbekistan in the future for sure.
Obviously, Madrimov is a big underdog this Saturday. He's only had 11 professional fights. I know he's got a decorated amateur career, but Crawford was a big amateur himself, 40-0. That's a crazy lot of experience that Crawford's got over him. So how does he kind of counteract all that?
I mean, on the other side though, as well, you've also got the age and the miles he's been through. Terence Crawford. But that's why a lot of people would simply look at those records and say 40-0 or an 11-0 and say, well, he stands no chance, does he? But when you look at what they've done, as I say, from amateur days as well, these guys are special fighters. They're super talented. And he maybe hasn't boxed on the level of Terence Crawford, obviously, but he has got the ability. And I think until the great thing about this sport is until you step up to those levels, you never really know. A lot of people would have written off Dimitri Bivol. Maybe non-boxing fans, right, would have said, well, Canelo's the biggest name in the sport. This Dimitri Bivol's got no chance. Look at what Dimitri Bivol went and did against Canelo Alvarez. And then after that, everyone's like, oh, who's this Dimitri Bivol? Sort of, I'm not comparing directly, but similar sort of mindset. When you speak to boxing fans as well, like I saw Chris Mannix was saying this will be the hardest fight of Terence Crawford's career.
It's usually predicted.
Yeah. So like it's not just me, albeit I am.
He was the only one on that desk.
Yeah, but he knows his boxing as well. Albeit I am the lead promoter for the Uzbek Matchroom team. Eddie will state differently. But I'm not just saying it because we promote them. They're special fighters. Yeah.
Frank Smithomov. Does that sound good? Frank Smithomov, your Uzbek.
Smithomov.
Yeah.
Hasn't got a ring to it, has it? No.
Frankomov, maybe something like that. But we'll think of something before we wrap it up. Derek Chisora, you was there ringside Saturday night. I seen Eddie, drop his name in for Johnny Fisher. But like being fair, like I saw Derek's post-fight interview and he said it himself. He goes, my legs wouldn't move. I was telling him to move. They were like, but nah, motherfucker, I'm not moving. Basically saying his legs aren't fully what they were. Is it fair to drop Johnny Fisher's name and he's on crazy form, he's blasting people out? Surely it's an unfair matchup. What do you think?
I think
as his mate,
as Derek's mate, like I think I love Derek Chisora, hence why I was there. I wouldn't go to any other boxing show. I get on with Derek outside of boxing, even if we don't work together. I've got a good relationship with him, and that's why I went. I wanted to go and see him. As his mate, I think it's all he wants to do is box. If that makes it, like I'd look at it and go, do you know what? You fought everyone. You fought Vitaly Klitschko. You've done everything in the sport. Like he's been involved in some massive nights in the sport. Never won a world title, but he's been there and he's been amongst it all. So, like looking from the outside, you go, well, what more do you want? But for him, it's all he cares about, and not all he cares, but it's all he wants to do is box. It's all he knows. So who am I or you to say he shouldn't be doing it anymore? But he went in there and beat Joe Joyce, I thought, quite convincingly, and dropped him as well. You know, I would say in the past, Del, why didn't you call it, like, what more do you want from the sport? But he wants to keep going. He's also driven, like everyone in any job, driven by money. You know, like, he's going to do what's the best and biggest thing out there for him. Now, if he's going to box, he's going to be involved in the biggest fights. He FaceTimed me earlier because he put out a tweet to Eddie about the Johnny Fisher stuff, and he was putting it on Eddie. So, but yeah, look, I think.
What was he saying?
He said, "Stop calling out my name for Johnny Fisher. You said there was no money in it." But it's a big fight. That fight could sell out the O2. You saw what Johnny Fisher did against Alan Babbage, and the support Derek had in there on Saturday night as well. You know, everyone was behind Derek Chisora on Saturday. So, you know, it is a big fight, but it's just gonna be determined by what Derek wants to do. And I think he's been open. He said he wants 2 more fights. I think he wants to get to 50 fights. So we'll see what happens. But any fight in the heavyweight division, like in these names you talk about, they're tough. Even that Joe Joyce fight was tough, you know, like different styles, but still landing big shots on each other for 10 rounds. It's brutal sport. But yeah, I'm happy for Derek. I'm really happy for him. You know, a great win for him ever. A lot of people wrote him off, but he went in there and he delivered.
Last thing I want to ask you about is the Conor Benn thing. So I think from when it came out, I think we was expecting some sort of resolution January, February, March maybe, but we're now in July. In fact, we're almost in August. Are we in August? No, a couple of days. We're in August. Still no resolution, no news. Is there anything going on behind the scenes that we don't know about?
I met him the other week. I must say he's probably in the best mental space he's been in. Look, for whatever you think of Conor Benn and the way things have been handled, but you know, you can't imagine what he's been through, you know, for this period of time. And undoubtedly, he has been treated differently to other people in this situation. Like Ryan Garcia, for example, you'd think nothing's ever happened when you look at. But again, you can't compare like for like. But he's been through what you can't imagine. But he's in a great place. He's out training. He's in Spain. He's training hard. He's always trained hard, kept fit. He wants the biggest fights possible, and hoping for some news very soon. You know, it's been 2 years nearly. You know. And I think very soon we'll have some answers and some clarity.
When you say that, have you got a date coming up or anything? Or
there's ongoing discussions. We're not, like we said before, we're not directly involved. He has his own legal team who handle it. But you know, hopeful for news soon.
Okay. Anything else? Are you doing anything whilst you're out here in LA?
Try and train and keep fit and not get fatter.
Any decent food places you'd recommend?
Oh mate, tons. John and Vinny's. Okay. Great for pizza, pasta, everything. Get down there.
What about IHOP?
IHOP's good. They got some good watermelon.
Pancakes.
And pancakes.
Yeah. That's what they're famous for.
Do I look like I eat pancakes? Yes. You just nodded your head.
Yeah. Well, I've had enough for touching it, rubbing your knee there, Frank. Thank you for your time.
Cheers.